Oh, yeah, I just got a text message. All right, so we are going live on YouTube right now. Hello and welcome all you folks on YouTube to the Real Estate Mastermind number 10. This is exciting. And hello and welcome to all of our folks that are live in the actual Zoom webinar. You are part of the mastermind and we are excited to have you because we're going to do some exciting stuff today. All right, so let me go ahead and share my screen. I believe I'm going to share my screen. Go to my PowerPoint, share it, and I click here. I think, come on, you can do it. There we go. But then Ray says he wants me to share this screen here. There we go. Now you should see us. All right, here we are. I'm Joseph Smith, and this is Ray Fleming, and we are the Wise Guys in Ties. Wise in the ways of helping you build, start, and grow a business. Wise in the ways of helping you learn and help you grow in your knowledge and experience of real estate investing. Before we get started, let's go ahead and bring in our background. Go ahead and bring in the background, please. Right this way. There we go. Here comes the background. Professionally done. Here we are. All right. By Elijah Smith. A good job. All right, so this is our professional background for tonight. Let's go ahead and start with a few disclosures, shall we?
First, we got an IMA disclosure. We are independent marketing affiliates for RENATUS. We actually are independent marketing affiliates for a lot of things, but tonight we're going to be talking more specifically about RENATUS. We do our best to represent them, but we cannot legally bind RENATUS to anything tonight.
Sounds good to me.
And also, RENATUS requires that if you choose to engage with RENATUS and purchase some of their services, you are contracting with them, not Wise Guys in Ties. And RENATUS will be providing access to the customer service, the assistance, the educational services, and they may pay Joseph and I if we an affiliate fee.
Sounds good to me.
And also, we're going to be talking about some legal aspects tonight. So we're not going to be practicing any law in this situation. Always consult with an attorney, accountant, financial advisor, broker, or other licensed individuals that will help you in your specific situations.
Excellent. All right, now we're getting to the point where we're starting Real Estate Investing Mastermind number 10.
Woohoo!
X marks the spot, baby.
That's right.
Why the baseball theme, Ray?
Baseball is just all around a wholesome, good sport, and it's a family event. It's a family affair, and it really represents America.
And it's a great theme, all in all, to have fun and play around with.
There's a lot of parallels to baseball in real estate investing.
There are. You got to get on base, right?
Well, let's talk about that. How do we get on base in baseball? Well, we got to make some hits. Like Luis says, baseball is the best. Yes, it is. A little bit interesting the other day when I was watching the game and there were some cardboard cutouts in the stands. That was pretty interesting.
Yeah,
but we're not going to go there. We're not going to touch that with a 6-foot pole today.
Yeah, I'm not happy. But hey, you know what I am happy about? I'm happy tonight because it's time to play ball.
Woo!
All right. Ready for the first pitch? I like this one because this is this person's actual first pitch ever.
Really? Oh.
First pitch. Yay! Good job.
There you go.
First pitch. Okay. Some documents in a probate file that contain information of interest to the investor include all of the following except the petition application, the will, letters of testamentary, or body attachment. So we got A, B, C, or D, or 1, 2, 3, 4. This is time for you to chime in. Let us know, because these documents contain information that are needed if you're going to try and do some real estate deal in the probate area. Do you want to look at the petition or the application? Do you want to see the will? Would you like to see the letters of testamentary? Or would you like to see the body attachment? Go ahead and select. Which one of those does not contain information of any interest to us, the investors? We're waiting. I'm waiting to see what we got here coming.
All right,
in.
let's see. So we got Matt. Matt's coming in saying the petition, the application. Good. Anybody else? Anybody else want to take a stab at it? That's all right. Listen, this is a curveball right here. You were not expecting this. So, maybe you don't know much about probate, or this will be your first time ever hearing anything about probate. You may not even know what probate is, but just take a stab. What is it that you think, what's your gut telling you? This is really what it's here for, folks. See if you learned something here today.
So Matt says A. He thinks you don't need to see the petition or the application. And he's really the only one who's chimed in here. Let's see if come on, we need to hear from Luis, Felicia, Timothy.
Just take a stab at it, folks. Let's see if we got anybody on YouTube.
I think there's just people who are scared. What if I get it wrong?
That's okay. It's okay if you get it wrong.
It's okay, yeah.
I got it wrong the first time.
And the second.
And the second, maybe the third.
I'm just kidding. All right, so we only have one brave soul out there.
Let's see. Let's check YouTube and see what
we have. Raul. Come on, let's get some people answering. This is a mastermind. We got to participate. We're looking for participation. The only thing that would be wrong is to not participate. That's what's wrong, right? Okay, so Luis says B, we don't need to see the will. And Matt says we don't need to see the petition or application. What else? What do we got going on here, folks? Still waiting to hear from a couple of folks. Let's see what we got. Timothy says C, letters of testamentary.
Ooh, all right. So we got A, B, and C. Anybody think the body of attachment? Anybody else? Anybody else? Going once.
Okay, so let's talk about it. So you got your petition and your application. I think that's important because that lists like who's died, right? So we kind of need to know who the owner or who was the owner of the property. The will, yes. If there's a will, that would be important because you would want to know who the trustee or the survivor trustees or who has been willed the property.
Yes.
Because that's who we would communicate with today.
Right.
Letters of testamentary. That might also be important because you need to find out who are we supposed to talk to? What official person is in charge or because, like they'll assign an executive or executor and executrix. Now, the body attachment. That could be a lot of various things that, because they might have died and left behind a car and jewelry and other things. And it would be, it's important too, in the sense that you want to look and see if there's an actual property there, right? Because a lot of things go into probate, but if there's no real estate, then we got a problem. However, in the petition, in the will, you should be able to find if there's property. So in theory, from that little bit, we could say by deduction, you could look at all of it because, you're an investor, you want to look at all of it.
Right.
But what could I really get by without? It's probably number 4 or D, the body attachment. If I have the petition and the will and the letters of testamentary, I'm going to know if there's a property.
Beautiful.
All right. You learn something new every day. All right.
That's all right, folks. That's why we're here. We're here to learn.
All right. So let's go ahead and move forward. So
let's talk about where this information comes from.
Where does this information come from, Ray?
Well, so there is a class in the RENATUS system called Deal of the Decade. And this really talks about how to, well, before we get into what this talks about, let me tell you about the guy that actually teaches it.
Well, that's the next slide. So you're telling, so you actually say, so yeah.
All right. So Deal of the Decade, that really revolves around how to access things that are in the legal system, in the court system. What is probate? Also, what about somebody who's going through evictions or divorce? Any type of legal action that's locked up in the county court system. Many people are not looking there for potential real estate deals. And so this class is all about how you navigate those waters. What do you actually need to be looking for? Because there's also a whole lot of stuff that you don't need to be looking at. And so
how often does the deal of the decade come along?
The deal of the decade comes along about once a week.
If you know where to look.
Exactly.
Because, I mean, to me, I think the beauty of this class is people go and they look for properties on the MLS, or they buy lists from different foreclosure lists or things like that. But everybody's buying these lists, and you're competing with so many people. But with Deal of the Decade, if you learn how the court system works, you can find all these hidden gems and be the only person that's actually looking at and making an offer on a property.
And when you're the only person looking at the property, that's a beautiful thing.
That is a beautiful
That's
thing.
really the way you want it.
So tell us a little bit about who Chris Albin is.
All right. So Chris Albin, he has a significant track record and owned well over 100 investment properties. He manages many, many more of those. He pretty much bought up half of Danville, Illinois on a high school teacher's salary.
That's impressive.
It is impressive. And so somebody who was a high school English teacher and a wrestling coach and being able to amass that, I mean, he's a service member. He was a retired Marines, and really comes from a background of education. And so I know a lot of times in this country where we look at our educators as not being able to build wealth, but that's just not true.
Well, I mean, because we're going to get into some of his other classes in the weeks ahead. This is one of 3 that he does: Deal of the Decade, Real Estate Red Flags, and Creative Acquisitions. When you combine all 3 of these strategies, you can really find and make offers and buy properties with little to no money.
Oh, yes. Yes, you can. So as we were talking about what's entitled in this class, every time you start a RENATUS course, you're going to take a pre-assessment. For example, like the question we gave you, it really just lets you judge where you're at before you even dive into it. And I'll tell you what, when I first started, I was failing every single one of these classes. Maybe 3, 4 questions, maybe right out of the 10 that are on the test. It goes into a little introduction about the teacher, because you need to know who you're actually learning from. And then he starts down the path of really going into finding out, really, is that property for sale? And so each class is broken down to a different section.
What I really like, though, is throughout all of this, I know you're going to name all the segments, but he goes through real life examples, because, I mean, he's done, hundreds of deals. So there's plenty of actual real life examples to pull from. So I think
that's really where we learn everything, is from the experiences of others and what has actually happened. And so Chris talks about stories of different situations that he's been in. He also talks about situations about finding good leads, what happens in all the chaos and the mayhem, because when you're dealing with people and situations that are in the legal system, there's a lot of problems that revolve around that.
Absolutely.
And you have to be a problem solver. So what is probate? Getting comfortable with the idea of probate. It can be a little bit scary. This is a sensitive time for many people who are dealing with these issues. Where to start in court filings, what to get from the probate petitions, what are the 5 steps to really your first property, knowing when to walk away from the deal. Finding it if they own the property, really how to analyze all the documentation and search down who is at the end of that line. Finding up-to-date information on the.
I think one of those big things I learned from the last segments was sometimes you think you're talking to somebody who's the property owner, but it's not the property owner. And how to do the due diligence to make sure that you're talking to the right person. Because there's a lot of fraud out there of people who will sell properties that they don't own all day long.
It happens all the time. Selling properties, renting properties, that is not uncommon. So how to actually contact the representative of the estate, finding leads who are prone to doing some seller financing, some creative options there, gaining leads through eviction courts and public records. So is somebody who's going through their third eviction maybe interested in selling that property.
Not the person who's going through the
No,
eviction.
The landlord
Right.
who owns that property.
That's probably not what he signed up for when he wanted to be a landlord.
No, evictions are never fun. Examining the whole eviction process, really how to actually go about contacting them in all these different aspects, and where do you actually gather the information, and really wrapping the course up with another test.
There's divorce court, there's for sale by owners. There's so many different public records that are out there where you can find access to a lot of real estate deals that people just pass by all the time, because it seems hard, it's overwhelming, it's difficult to go down to the courthouse, or
it does take time. Yeah.
or not like my courthouse out west. I'm still in the wild west. It's kind of like the card catalog system still, but I know a lot of systems like up in the Phoenix area, it's all digital. You can go and look everything up online.
Yeah, it's a lot easier the bigger the city is.
All right, Ray, it's time to do base hit. This is where we do the weekly training. So we need some help flipping the board.
Stagehand.
We love getting training because this is what allows us to, swing for the fences, get a base hit.
Or if you want to slide it out, and then we can slide it back in. Or can we might be able to rotate.
No.
There we go. Some assistance.
Some assembly required. So, Ray, you're going to be talking about what is probate?
That is what we are talking about tonight. We're talking about probate. What is it? Who knows what probate is? Or if you think you know what probate is, I mean, probate it's a pretty big topic. I'm gonna go board here in a minute.
Matt said probate is when someone die and the property is for sale.
That is true. That is an aspect of property. So, or probate, I should say. The definition of probate is it's a function of the state law administered by county courts. It is the court supervision of the management of the assets belonging to one who cannot manage those assets for him or herself.
Oh, that just rolls right off the tongue.
But what does that actually mean? That means that the court has intervened in some way, shape, or form to help somebody who cannot help themselves, who is unable to manage their assets. So probate is actually a really, really big topic here. Now, more specifically, yes, like what Matt said, is we're talking about probate in the sense of somebody who, since probate revolves around, let's put this up here on the board. Probate revolves around somebody who cannot make any decisions about assets for themselves. So is a person that has passed away able to make decisions about their property or their assets?
Well, do you believe in ghosts?
Well, I did see on the news the other day that the lady said we tried to reach the person that passed, but they were unable to respond. I did see that on the news. That was a little bit crazy, but yeah. So,
seance or something? Is that what they did?
But probate, yeah, the person is no longer around. So and we're going to talk about a couple different things about how properties and assets end up in probate. But that situation, somebody is no longer able to handle their situation. Now, there's a couple of other times that probate is brought into the place. This could be minors, for example. So
like people who go and dig out gems and coal out of the
no,
ground?
not those types of minors. That's a whole nother situation.
Oh, okay.
But children who are in maybe a custody battle.
Oh, children, not minors.
Minor children.
Minors, got it.
Yes, so minor persons
Gotcha.
who are, in some type of custody battle or who are a ward of the state. They don't necessarily have any actual assets, but they're unable to manage their situation. So that could be a probate case. Now, if you're looking for probate cases and you're going through the court documents and you come across something that is, labeled minor, or it's dealing with, you just keep moving forward, there's going to be a lot of stuff that you actually don't need to spend any time looking at.
Gotcha.
Now, so there's going to be situations where, like we were talking about, where somebody has passed away or that's what we're going to be looking for. Also, somebody who's no longer in the house or no longer to actually handle their affairs. And so somebody is going to need to step in if there's no family member that is able to step in.
What about like somebody who got sentenced to prison for life?
That could happen. If there's nobody in the family who can take over the management of that, then the court will eventually assign somebody who's responsible for all that, but it'll have to go through the probate process to really determine that. This will determine ownership of certain items. If they have a will, the will be brought into probate, and the will typically direct where they want certain things to go. And if it's not laid out in the will, then it will be up to the court system to decide what happens to those properties. Specifically, when we're looking at probate, there's a lot of different things that can be in probate. We're just looking for the properties. We're looking for the properties of somebody who is no longer there. They may have had to move into a care home, or they have passed on, but we're looking for the properties that nobody has any use for anymore. And so when it's in the probate system, this is when there's a big opportunity there. Many times people just want to get rid of those properties as fast as they can, because who typically is given the property in probate?
Not the dead person.
Right. So this could be maybe a relative or a child, and many times they want to liquidate that and turn that into cash.
Right. Well, I mean, the state's interest is, especially for real estate, is somebody's got to be responsible to pay the property tax.
Yes. Liquidate the assets to pay the liabilities. That's what it comes down to. And so the other thing now what about avoiding probate? There's certain things that can take place that makes it harder for us to find properties of somebody who's passed away. Anybody who's in the mastermind right now, do you know of any ways to avoid probate? Let's say that you have a business, you have some properties. I know, you know, let's see if they got it. But what is a great way to avoid going through probate?
Come on, you can do it.
Because ideally, when somebody passes away, they no longer can handle it for themselves. But there's a way for, if somebody who passes away, for something to continue living on.
Ebony, Luis, Matt, Raul, Timothy.
How can we avoid probate? Now, this is taking a little side note, but this is important to understand that we'll have to find these properties a different way.
Timothy says, what about a trust?
Absolutely. Living trust. It's a key component to asset protection. Now, yes, so having a will. If you have a trust, there's going to be a will in the trust. Whenever you have a will without a trust, it's still going to have to go through some type of probate. So the will does not necessarily get you out of going through the probate process. It will just help, because what's going to happen is it'll go to court. And
the court will execute the will.
Yeah, that's really what it is. In a trust, there's the trustees, there's the trustors, there's the will, and it really outlines what's going to happen with assets after the person has passed away or is no longer able to take care of themselves. In the trust, there's going to be powers of attorney for medical issues, for financial issues, if that person is unable to take care of themselves or unable to respond on their behalf. The key term is there, it's a living trust. This will actually live on past somebody's death. And so it doesn't actually have to go to probate, because the person hasn't actually died. Now, we're not going to dive into all the things about trust today where, there's people that could challenge it. It could end up in the court system anyway. But for the most part, having a trust in place helps you be able to clearly outline your person. And the key word there is trust. You want to have somebody who's going to execute this that you trust. You want them to be trustworthy. You want them to be able to understand.
Is that why you hire a lawyer to set it up?
You want to hire an attorney, get it set up.
You trust attorneys?
I do. Yes. But see, that's the
Elijah.
tricky part. You mentioned attorneys. And so the issue with probate is, okay, well, before we go in there, let's finish up with the trust. On the trust aspect, most of the time, those properties will not end up in probate. So those properties will still have to be marketed for through other channels. You'd still have to have, roadside signs, however you're finding your properties. The ones that are in trusts that are avoiding probate, you're not going to be able to find. Typically, they're going to be not found here in the probate system. So not all properties belonging to people that have passed away end up here. Now back to probate. So this is when a property is in the court system and the court is deciding on what's going to be taking place. The other thing that makes it a little bit harder and more challenging in this situation is to come up with some really creative scenarios. The more people that are involved, the harder it gets to clearly get a creative acquisition. So setting up maybe a couple of different things, because like Joseph said, attorneys are involved. Attorneys don't necessarily like creative strategies. They want to see that we just sell these things off and get the liabilities paid for. But
Right.
It does not mean that it's not doable. We can still set up some seller financing, and there's some other options.
But this is like a minefield because you got a lot of emotions. There's also probably a lot of unpaid debts. And so there's so many moving parts, and people don't know how probate works. And there's deadlines, court deadlines when things have to be filed and done. And so there's so many, if you can understand probate and how the process works, you can actually help people through the grieving process, help them figure out how to pay off these debts, because there's going to be a funeral cost of some kind. There's so many things going on. And so you could be seen by some initially as like some vulture, but really what you're trying to do is you're trying to help facilitate an end to this. I mean, because how long could probate actually go on for people?
Well, that's important because it can go on for years.
If there's a lot of contention.
Yeah, and that's something you actually want to look for is if there's probate, if there's a case in there and it's been around for 3-4 years and there's property in there, they got a problem, and you as the investor can go in there and help them solve that problem. There's got to be something creative then at that point. It may be they're unable to sell and there's too many people involved, and whatever the situation is, you can take some of your expertise and come into a situation like that and help them resolve whatever obstacle they're facing.
Because a lot of people who are trying to vie for some type of control, a lot of things can be solved through a creative seller financing option where there can be multiple payouts so everybody gets a little piece of the pie. And with interest over time, you can usually achieve the numbers that everybody is trying to get at.
Right.
So, I mean, that's where, but with the lawyers who just want to settle right now can never seem to bring enough money to the table to satisfy everybody. And so that's
a key thing that you're going to learn in this class is depending on how long the process has been going on, that's going to actually shift the strategy and the acquisition approach. So, I mean, this is just one section of, we're just wanting
32?
This is just one of 32 sections in this course. We just wanted to talk about really what is probate. It's things that are tied up in the legal system where somebody is unable to handle the assets and the situation themselves, and the court has appointed somebody over those assets.
You know, I forgot to share the screen, so now people can
Well,
see what you wrote up there.
We didn't really do too much whiteboard work today. We just been talking about probate, specifically looking at estate probate. So don't worry, you folks didn't move too much. More of a discussion on what probate actually is.
So let's talk about now what's on deck. Why do we call this segment On Deck?
Well, because that's the next batter up. I mean, what do we got coming up? Oh,
ouch. That looked painful. So what's on deck is usually when we're discussing what's coming up at the end, our deal or no deal segment, which is really popular. Today, we're talking about a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo, and the asking price is $100,000. But is that a deal or is that no deal? Deal or no deal, right? So we're going to definitely dive into that and really look at an actual situation where this is something that was kind of found through the court system as well.
Yep.
So we'll go into a lot of the details of that, but this is definitely why you want to be a part of the mastermind. So if you're watching right now on YouTube, I mean, that's great. We hope you like what you're seeing and you're learning so far. Give us the like, give us a thumbs up, right? Share the content if you find any value. But at the end of this presentation, we don't actually do Deal or No Deal live with the YouTube audience. It's only for people who are participating in the webinar. So if you're watching on YouTube and you want to participate, you need to go over to our website, wiseguysandties.com. In fact, Ray's going to put it in the chat field there for you. And it's /events. Register for the Real Estate Investing Mastermind, and then come in and join us on the Deal or No Deal when we get there. But before we do that, it's time for the 7th inning stretch.
Oh, yes.
So good.
Favorite part, you know.
Take me out to the ball game. Absolutely.
I miss it. I miss baseball.
I do too. Can't wait for it to come back. So why don't you take over the mouse, take over control of the mouse. Why don't you tell folks, we talked about where this information that we talked about today came from was from a class called Deal of the Decade, but that's just one class of a major education system.
Each week, really the Real Estate Mastermind is to come alongside the RENATUS education. Now, what is important is that's how Joseph and myself actually met. We met through the RENATUS education. And so I know when I got started, I wanted to figure out what I was missing, is because the path I was going down, what I saw my family going down, and what everybody else around me, they were all doing the same thing. And I realized if I kept doing what everybody else was doing, I was going to get the same results as all of them were getting. And I wanted something to
do what you've always done, then you'll always get what you've always got.
And I just wanted something different for myself and for my family. And I'm going to just be quite honest. My first motivator to wanting to do something different was I wanted a fancy car. But then as time progresses, that actually isn't what becomes so important anymore.
Just fancy paint jobs.
Just fancy paint jobs, except for I did get a fancy paint job, and I feel like I've gotten pulled over 3 times in the last month. I don't understand why.
Well, did you put like some political ad on in your car or something?
No, it's an interesting looking color though. But all right. So first, in the Essentials course, which is foundational, this is a course. This is a set of courses that RENATUS has that helps you build your foundation of understanding business ownership, real estate investing. And we've talked about each class a little bit more each week. And so Real Estate Foundations, this is the building blocks of your real estate investing career. This is understanding the lingo. This is understanding what a BPO is, what an ARV is, the foundational lingo.
The alphabet soup.
How to build your power team. What are you going to have to put together to actually be a successful real estate investor? Self-directed IRAs, one of our favorite courses. Yes, how to raise money through retirement accounts. This is absolutely insane. And I don't know if you can really comprehend the power of this when somebody has a retirement account they're not doing anything with, and you can show them how to buy a rental property with you, and they can literally become the bank. I think we all realize the banks have a pretty good deal going on.
Oh, yeah.
They get to have an asset here, and you basically pay them for them.
Yeah.
And people can do that with their retirement accounts. Now, real estate red flags. This is a little bit about what we're talking about today.
Oh, that's next week. We're going to talk about this one
sorry.
next week.
That is next week.
Mm-hmm.
Get a little ahead of myself. So Chris Album, I love everything that he does.
This is the math class, right?
Ins and outs, the pitfalls, how to avoid them. And actually there's a lot of hands-on scenarios too. Deal work. Is this a deal? Is this not a deal? Type situations.
Deal or no deal.
Tax and legal, day 1 and 2. Anything and everything you need to know about maximizing your tax deductions, setting up legal entities, structuring for protection.
Oh, can I mention something here?
Oh, yeah,
Did you notice who the helper was? That was
our stagehand today.
Yes, that's my son.
There we go.
And what's great is this is how he can get paid working legitimately for our business, right? He created a background for the video today, and he moved stuff around, and he's been cleaning up all day.
Because it fits perfectly into the content that we're doing.
Yeah, perfect.
Folks, this is what the wealthy have understood for years. And then what will happen is Joseph can now pay his son. Then that money can be used as a tax deduction, but you could really use it for anything you want. You could go buy shoes.
Absolutely.
What we always like to say from, well, in this case, from diapers to prom tuxedos.
Well, he's only 8 years old now, but he like eats now as much as I do. So that food bill is only going to get bigger and bigger.
I'm noticing that. My 3-year-old son eats as much as my wife. So creative acquisitions. This is 7 strategic ways of acquiring properties with little to no money. Also, deal of the decade, which we talked about today, finding properties in probate systems. You know, we just barely
in the court system. Period.
Yeah, we just opened the door to the court system. It is so in depth. I mean, we're talking
free foreclosure,
6 hours
eviction,
of
divorce,
how to go through all this documentation.
Yeah.
But the thing is, when you're starting out, focus on one little area and get really good at it, because especially something like this, if you're able to look where nobody else is looking, like for example, right now, not many people are looking for this stuff.
No, they're not.
People aren't going down to the courthouse.
No, they're not.
You go to the courthouse here in Tucson. I mean, you gotta mask up, you gotta suit up. They're gonna take your temperature before you even get in the courthouse. It's pretty wild. So I mean, there's a lot of folks that won't even go there. So opportunity. Negotiations. Bob Snyder, he is the CEO of RENATUS, and he talks about all the ways of coming to a mutual win-win situation. How to properly communicate your needs and wants, and understand what the other side needs and wants as well, and how you can satisfy their need by also helping you satisfy your need.
I also like that he breaks it down into 30 different strategies of negotiation. Several are used against you when you're in a deal. How to understand what the motivation is and how to counter. There's not only 30 different negotiation tactics, but how to counter them, because you might want to use them. But if somebody uses a negotiation strategy or tactic against you, how do you counter that?
That happens sometimes. I'm like, oh, they're trying to pull a Joey on me.
I call it agent of limited authority. And that's when it's like someone's asking me and they want me to do the deal, and it's like, I have to go talk to my wife.
All the time. Even down to what colors do you wear on your clothes? What side of the table do you sit on? Where on the table you sit? All of these little things that
do you wear a suit? Do you wear a tie?
It's almost like a psychology class, actually.
It is. Negotiations is a lot about psychology.
Credit management teaches you how to improve, maintain your credit worthiness, how to grow your credit score and optimize your profile. We also have velocity banking. Each and every week we go over this on a slightly different look, the credit banking strategy, which we do each and every Tuesday night with master host, Mr. Joseph Smith here, the money guy. Make sure you tune into the Credit Banking Mastermind each and every week, where we go over different aspects of how to break free from the chains of financial oppression.
We have a super big announcement coming this next Tuesday. You're going to want to be there for the 6 p.m. Mastermind, because there is a new book that's being released.
There's going to be a new book. It's in the final stages of production, and we're going to be opening up a special sneak peek opportunity.
There's going to be a chance to get access to spreadsheets, calculators, PowerPoints, all kinds of resources,
graphs.
I mean, charts, everything that people need.
And I know that a lot of folks were, really wanting an audiobook for the business credit playbook. And I believe this book is going to have an audiobook before the playbook.
We were trying to negotiate with Harrison Ford, but that fell through. So I think I'm just going to do it.
That's okay. That's all right. It's probably safe that he doesn't fly.
Oh yeah.
And all these courses, over 60 hours of education, comes with weekly group coaching from RENATUS, which is put on by one of their head instructors, Mr. Gavin McCaleb, actually. Each and every week he comes out, and this guy has touched his fingers into almost everything in real estate. And so he can literally talk about any and everything that is going on.
Well, he teaches the foreclosure class, which is pretty much the whole gambit of real estate. But he also does tax deeds, notes, and tax deeds and tax liens is what he does. I mean, so there's a lot of opportunities to buy real estate on the paper side.
And there, of course, though, there is a cost to this. It's only $2,497 for the life of the company. So this is an online education. So if you look at, if you were to take a course at your local community and take some online courses, which I think we have officially, I think Harvard is now online. And I think so it's officially the most expensive online education. But everything is moving online nowadays. And so what realistically is going to need to happen is you're going to have to find something that you enjoy, something that's going to be interesting, and you're going to have to just get good at that specific skill. Because what I'm seeing from a lot of CEOs, Google, even the government now, where they are not necessarily looking at degrees necessarily, they're looking at the skill set.
But look at this. I mean, not only are you going to learn 450 strategies on how to write off expenses for your business, which you can make that a write-off itself.
Oh yeah, this is business development.
But this is how to start your business, how to raise capital. I mean, we've used this education in the self-directed IRA to raise over $700,000 to invest in real estate. I mean, you're going to learn how to buy properties at little to no cost.
That is very true.
That education is going to pay for itself probably 4, 5, 7 different ways before it's all said and done.
Oh, it's totally worth it if you take it. Accelerated investor training. Now, this is when you can really take it to the next level. We talk about building your foundation, but then you're like, well, hey, that's great. I got this foundation. I got a hold of my situation. Where do I go from here? Well, let's find something for you to specialize in. Lease options, short sales, notes, deeds, tax liens, really handling the paper side of real estate, fix and flips. Hands-on, you want to find something, you want to turn it into gold and sell it and make a good profit. You want to do something a little bit more passively, multifamily, getting some money together, buying some big rental properties and just renting them out for the cash flow. You could take it to the even next level where you're fix and flipping multifamily properties.
You can do that.
Oh yeah. Commercial real estate. There's a lot of repurposing that's taking place. I'll tell you what, commercial was already in a little bit of trouble. And, and things are going to change even more.
This was everything from raw land up to strip malls.
It was. I've seen a lot of prime retail properties in downtown New York are now vacant. This is going to be one of the biggest commercial shifts that we've ever seen.
Who wants to live in New York?
But I'm saying it happens everywhere. But this is going to be one of those.
Live in New York, and I'm not trying to offend you. I actually have some good friends actually that live in New York, and there's a lot of good opportunities like you're talking
about. If you're up for the high, fast-paced life, then that's good. Joseph is a little bit more conservative, lives out in the country. That's why it takes him 2 hours to get to work.
Moving to the country, I'm gonna eat a lot of
drives
pizzas.
a truck, see him, twice a week. And do you have a gun on the tape? No,
I usually do. You never know.
All right, and then bonus tracks, all sorts of different beneficial coursework.
Oh, wealth acceleration.
Wealth acceleration.
That's probably the best. And knowing your investor ID.
It really pertains to all of these, but they didn't really have each of these classes really work in the big picture. So
they have classes that really help you learn how to do, like, say, crowdfunding and stuff, and partnerships and raising
payroll. Management,
cost segregation,
all sorts of stuff.
Contracts, the legal side of stuff.
Now, who are you actually learning from? So these instructors, for example, Ben and Heather Estrevera, they do the fix and flip courses. Now, the fix and flip, there's 2 actual full days of fix and flipping. They live out, in Idaho. They're doing about $7 million.
$7 million
a year
in Idaho. How do they? I'm just like, wow.
That's somebody you should probably be learning from. Everything from building your business
plan. I lived there for 8 years. I was like, wow.
A lot of value adding. How do you actually get that done? Building that entire team, and he also runs a trucking business at the same time.
If you can make it $7 million a year in real estate
and run a trucking business,
in Idaho, well, then you could probably do that anywhere in the country.
So obviously, being just a teacher is not there. There's the practitioner instructors are people that do this each and every day. This is their main occupation. Chris Wilson, Wholesaling and Leash Options, has hands down the largest wholesaling company in the country. His offices, he has offices in every single state. In order for them to be hitting their bonus, they need to be pulling in $100,000 a month just to hit their bonus. And imagine if you got offices in every state and that's what each individual office has to hit. We're talking hundreds of thousands of properties a year.
He has another class called Managing Your Property Managers, which I've learned so much from. It's an amazing course.
I mean, we could spend all day talking about these instructors. Jay Massey, he has a huge short-term rental business, how to automate it, how to actually set that up. And he does it without ever buying any of his properties. He basically turns apartment complexes and apartments into nighttime rentals. But how to do it the right way, because a lot of people do it illegally and they don't tell the landlord.
Well, they do it illegally, but they don't even know they're doing it illegally most of the time. But what about Jeff Armstrong? He teaches 3 full days of how to do seller finance notes. I mean, that should always be a part of every real estate deal, some type of seller financing option. But here,
every single deal in real estate requires some. I feel like I'm always doing notes.
I mean, I love Jeff. He's such a great guy. But this is a guy who just does bass fishing, right? This is a guy who runs his entire multi-million-dollar real estate business from a boat, and he's just got a cell phone. That's it.
I like that.
I mean, when you're able to run your entire business through your cell phone, because it's just the paper side, right? He's just the banking side of the business. I mean, that's so powerful.
And I encourage you guys to go take a look at some of these. You can check out these instructors.
All this is on myrenatus.com.
Yep, myrenatus.com. You can look up all these people. You can see that these are people who are people in the real world who have huge, successful companies, and all they're doing is teaching you what they did to get there. This is huge. This is the new age of everything. Even though RENATUS has been around since 2011, it's finally where this is going to be the norm now.
What about Bob Snyder? What could you say about
Bob Snyder? Well,
founder, CEO
of the company, and he has been involved in over 2,500 real estate deals.
I mean, he put this whole instructional system design method together where he took all this information and he put it into 100, 200, 300, 400 level classes.
See, the benefit is, well, both of us have gotten to meet this guy, and I'm a skeptical person. I want to know who I'm actually following. I want to know who I'm trusting. I want to know who, if they have some alternative motives. And the great thing about Mr. Bob Snyder is every single time I've met him, he made me feel like I was probably the most important person in the world at that time.
I think I'm more important to him than you are.
But not when he was talking to me.
He makes me feel like I'm the most important person.
No, but also as far as just he's a wholesome family man who's all about creating business and generating wealth and giving back to the community.
What I like about it so much is, I mean, his class on business and negotiations is really powerful because of all these deals that he's done. But the talent that he has pulled together, all of these instructors, and the fact that this education, like this is live classes that are taken at an actual campus out in Salt Lake City, where, I mean, and this content is constantly updated, but it also, because it's recorded, you can watch it on demand. So you could watch it live when it's happening. You could go to the campus, you could stream it live, or you could just watch it, whatever, at 2 a.m. in the morning if if that's when you're most awake to watch your classes. I mean, it's just brilliant, this whole system he put together.
I'll tell you what, Joseph and I, we spend a lot of time helping folks and trying to build a good reputation for ourselves. We would not align ourselves with RENATUS if we did not see that there is nothing but tremendous value that is being offered. And that's really, I know, the only way that we were able to meet and come together and be successful. I will say it, that I would not be where I am if it wasn't for RENATUS.
That's true.
It's
in the book I wrote, in my acknowledgments, I had to, give a shout out to Bob Snyder, because I wouldn't have learned how to do any of this if it wasn't for him.
Oh man. So, but that's taken to the next level. 300 hours of training. There's also the profits. This is actually international. This is for, doesn't matter where you are, how to drive your sales, how to drive communication. Troy Dunn, he is the CEO of the Locator Foundation. You've seen him all over TV. This is the first time in history he's actually taught a class on how to get yourself on media and news channels and how to build a global business. We have 7-time world Olympian teaching Champion Life, how to be a real champion in your mind and in your business. I mean, we got nothing. I mean, they have nothing but the top professionals in the world.
But I think really what's powerful about the profits is you're learning how to, whatever your business model, your idea is, how to bring it to market in today's economy. I mean, you just don't open up a lemonade stand and put it at the end of your street anymore. I mean, there's a social media component to it. There's an ad campaign. How do you automate the process from distributors and wholesalers and bring everything together? So, I mean, this works with real estate, but it also really works with any type of business.
It's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. And what I really love is the reason that we have this office here is this would be filled with 50 plus people a week. And we're down in Tucson. There's well over 500 a week in Phoenix. In wherever you are, if you're near any major city, I guarantee you there's already a group of RENATUS students local
like
to you.
1,000 in Chicago.
Oh yeah, easily 1,000 in Chicago. New York has a lot, Florida, California. I mean, there's a lot everywhere. It doesn't matter where you're at, but give us a call, reach out to us, and we can get you connected with local students, local real estate investors who might be just right down the street from you.
I mean, we're talking about plugging into a network of realtors, contractors, insurance, title escrow, being able to put together your power team from local investors that are just going through the same thing that you are.
Oh, yes. Now, what does RENATUS offer? They have the essentials, which we talked about. This is where a lot of people just start.
This is where I start.
Getting their foundation in place. This is 10 full day courses, live education in the studio if you want to actually go take classes, or you stream them on demand online. I think that's really where everybody is at now. I can't even imagine watching normal TV again where I'd actually have to wait to watch something. Everything is just at a click of a button now. Weekly group coaching. Downloadable audio, which is really nice.
I can binge watch my classes.
You can binge watch it. I watch it on my cell phone. I literally was walking down the hall today watching some classwork. I pop it into my car when I'm driving. I just listen to it all the time. 12-month redemption. Now, the great thing about that is, hey, you get it for 12 months, but then you also get complimentary lifetime access. So as long as RENATUS is around, and you haven't done anything that goes against their terms of use, and you've actually still paid for your coursework, then the great thing is that you keep on getting it.
Well, go into a little bit more about what's that learning partner access mean?
Now, the learning partner is huge. It is where you don't just have one login for this education. You actually get 2 logins.
You mean, so for the price of $2,497, I get 2 logins?
You get to bring education? A buddy along with you.
That's awesome.
For example, you could, let's say that you have a brother. Let's say you got a best friend or whatever. What is better than the gift of financial freedom? There's nothing better than that.
But you could split the cost. That's what's great.
So we have profits. That's 3,747. And so that gives you those 9 full day courses, and
really
of course,
become a powerful marketing
powerhouse. And then there's the profits combo, which actually is the essentials and the profits just put together.
So anytime where it says combo, it's just taking the essentials and adding it to one of the other education packages.
Yep. And we talked about the accelerated investor training, those 11 additional tracks, learning about fix and flips, buy and holds, commercial real estate.
300 hours of classes.
Oh yeah. And you can also add that on additionally for $22,497. And then there is the Epics combo, which is anything and all that RENATUS has.
So where did you get started, Ray?
I actually went with the whole thing.
I thought that you were crazy when you did that, but then what did you do within less than your first year How much did you make on your first flip?
37,000
Net profit.
net profit.
Now, is that typical? Is everyone going to do that when they?
That no results are typical.
But
I'll tell you what, though,
but
that was 10 months of dedicating myself hard to this. I was learning. I remember, you guys got to understand. I've had a lot of businesses, and going through this, I understood how I had done everything wrong.
But you hustle. I mean, that's the thing about you is you like. I mean, so people who are watching, they know themselves, and if you know, look, if I took all the education that I needed to learn to start my business, to market it and make it powerful, to learn how to do real estate, and I knew I was going to implement it and just start cranking out and doing deals. I mean, yeah, $28,000 to learn all this when you didn't know it, but $37,000 net profit in less than a year of getting started. That is
I'll just
amazing.
tell you guys where I was
pat
at
on the back for
because where I was when I started this, I was actually when I started RENATUS, when I found RENATUS, I actually was waiting to go through knee surgery. I had this bad bicycle accident, and I was losing my business and about to lose my house. And then I came across this, and they were like, hey, you know, you haven't used your credit cards in years, and you got good credit. Why don't you apply to see if you could get some credit cards and actually pay for this? I was like, fantastic. And so I was able to do that. And I was like, wow, you know what? I'm going to do this whole thing, because if I don't, it's going to be easy for me to turn away. And what I did was, I was recovering from surgery. I sat there and literally just locked myself in a room, watched my classes all day, every day, because I knew that was the only thing that I was missing. Was what there was something in my mind missing. Now you could literally take away everything that I got, and I'm totally okay with that, because I'll build it all again tomorrow.
Awesome.
And that's the thing, is they can't take away from you is your knowledge. And that is what I understood now, is the best investment I ever made was into the knowledge. And I'm just telling you, there's no results that are typical, but I had to do that for me. You only know what's right for you. Like Joseph started with the essentials and built his way up over time. That works out beautifully too. It doesn't matter where you start. It matters if this is what you want to actually do.
It just matters
that you start.
You get started,
You
right.
just got to get started in any way you can. And so, just like anything, money's not the obstacle. So RENATUS does offer in-house billing. For example, you wanted to get the essentials. Well, $399 down payment, no credit check, and RENATUS will literally finance you for $116 a month.
For 18 months.
18 months. Now, all the way up to, you want to do the whole Epics combo. This is actually what I did, is I put a down payment and I just made the monthly payments. I knew that I could float those until I actually made some money.
So you did your first.
Well, I mean, I had to. I really didn't have an option at that point. I had to make it work. But cash discount pricing, if you bring credit to the table, if you bring life insurance.
Well, I mean, if you use the credit card, it's always going to be cheaper than the RENATUS billing, because RENATUS billing's somewhere around 21%.
And when I purchased it, it was $20,000. The price just increased a little bit. And so that's the thing, is everything gets more expensive. The price is only going to go up from here.
That's true.
How to get started? There's all sorts of different options for you to go ahead and get started. Just wherever is the right place to start for you, and we'll figure out which that is. Maybe it's just getting started in the essentials, but like Joseph said, it doesn't matter where you start, it just matters that you start.
Boom.
Investment in knowledge pays the best interest.
That's right. So let's go ahead and talk about
the closer.
See, Boom. It's so important to just get that pitch in, and then, man, get the strikeout, close the deal. So let's talk about that. If you want to learn more about this RENATUS education, if you're interested in all about saying, oh, well, I would be curious to learn more about that, or you're thinking, that's so expensive, I don't have the money. Well, guess what? I paid for all of my education without using any of my own money or credit. There is a way to do that. So if you're interested, and don't let money be a barrier for you, come to the live follow-up on Saturday, 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. To register, simply text the 3 letters REI to 602-497-2257. When you text REI to 602-497-2257, Ray, tell them what we're going to cover.
Well, we're going to talk about additional ways to find the money, how to start, manage, and grow a successful business, how to generate income while building your real estate business, how to apply the RENATUS wealth cycle to earn money while you're actually learning, how to find deals using our RENATUS iOS software, and also take it for a test drive. I encourage you to do your due diligence on the deal to see if it's a deal that you want to do.
And now it's time for the bottom of the ninth. The bottom of the ninth is when we go into our deal or no deal. And for all those of you who are still, you know, here in the mastermind, get ready, because we're going to talk about that 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo that we had talked about. For all of you who have joined us on YouTube, we want to thank you so much for being here, learning about probate today. We talked about those, some really good information. And also thanks for sharing where the information came from and about the RENATUS opportunity. If that's something that interests you, go ahead and remember, text REI to 602-497-2257. Now, this is where we're going to go ahead and say goodnight to our YouTube folks. If you're here in the mastermind, stay with us, because we're going to the bottom of the ninth. Bottom of the ninth, there's 2 outs, no runners on, scores tied. It's time for the big one, right? This is what we're going to cover. Now, thank you, YouTube, for joining us. We want to say good night and God bless. And if you want to join us for the mastermind, simply go to wiseguysandties.com/events, register for the Real Estate Investing Mastermind, and you can hop right on in and see how we're going to do this deal. And if it is a deal or if it's not a deal, we're going to run all the numbers. And that's what's fun about a Real Estate Investing Mastermind. So thank you so much. Good night on YouTube, and God bless.